So here's a question. Sketch this line. If you're just given a linear equation and you're asked to just sketch it on a graph, on a Cartesian plane, how would you go about it? Where would you start and what would you do? We are asked in this question to sketch the line y equals 2x minus 3. I am going to show you, because I'm very generous, two different methods for doing this. All right, the first one is this. Remember, for a linear equation, to graph it, we only need 2 points, because if I know the 2 points, I can just draw a line through them and I'm gold. So, what 2 points would I like? In this case, I find the easiest ones to look for are just find the points when x equals 0 and when x equals 1, because they're nice and easy to substitute in and do the calculations. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to rewrite my equation and I'm going to create a space where the pronumeral was, and in this case I'm going to replace it with x equals 0, or I'm going to substitute an x value. So when x equals 0, what will be my y value? Well, I can calculate that out to be -3. So that gives me a coordinate. That gives me the coordinate x is 0 and y -3. And when I plot that onto my Cartesian plane, I can see it's there. All right, x value of 0, y value of -3. Hey, I've got my first of 2 points. We're halfway there, and I feel like we've only just started. Let's now go back and do the same process, but instead of substituting x equals 0, let's put in x equals 1. Now I can calculate that out again, and I get a y value of -1. Boom! There's my second coordinate, 1, -1. Plot it onto my Cartesian plane, come across 1, down to -1, and I've got my 2 points, which is all I need to draw a line. That was not hard. Come on, you have to admit that was pretty easy. 2 points, to x equals 0, x equals 1, and we are good to go. That is the graph of the equation. We've sketched it. Y equals 2x minus 3. Okay. I can have a look at that and just check. There's my y-intercept at this point. So if I look at my equation using my gradient intercept form, remember y equals mx plus b, where m is the gradient and b, our constant here, is the y-intercept. So it should be at -3. And as I have a look at my graph, I can see that's exactly where it is. My gradient means wherever, if I come across 1 point, if I just come across 1, if I have a run of 1, my rise will be 2. There's my gradient of 2. So that's a little backup check, I guess, to make sure it does look right, or that it makes sense, because the gradient is 2. Are you ready? That was the method 1. Method 2 goes a little bit like this. I'm going to sketch this line, and using my gradient intercept form, I know this line has a y-intercept of -3. I know it has a gradient of 2. Remember, the gradient is the coefficient of x, the number in front of the x, including the sign. So it's got a gradient of +2. Those two things are going to help me sketch this. The first one's dead easy, my y-intercept. I know that means the line is going to cut the y-axis here at -3. Now, a gradient of 2 just means there's a slope of 2. So in other words, for every 1 that I come across, I'm going to go up 2. Okay? So from this point, if I come across 1, I go up 2, I can plot my second point. There's my line. We're done. Y equals 2x minus 3. You pick whichever method works better for you. I'll give them to you both. All right, let's do one more example of that second one, because I felt like that was just so fast that we might need to review it. Here's another equation. Sketch this. Y equals -x plus 2. Using my gradient intercept form, I can see that I've got a y-intercept of 2. What's my gradient though? Like there's no number there. Remember, in algebra, when there's no number in front of the x, there's an invisible 1. So I'm going to pop that in just so you can visualize it. Okay. The gradient in this case is -1. So I'm going to use that information to sketch my graph. I've got my y-intercept. It's here at this point, +2. Now, for every 1 that I come across, because remember this is what my gradient is. So if I come across 1, in this case, because I've got a negative gradient, I'm going to come down. So I'm going to cross 1, and my gradient is -1, so I'm going to come down 1. Plot my second point, put my line through. There is the line y equals -x plus 2. Good job, you guys.